to do. So my name is Zari Harat. I'm based in Hamburg. I'm a visual artist, and I want to show the work of Cherine Yazbeck, Ruchika Wason Singh, and Elena Victoria Pastor. I will perhaps at the very end just show 10 pieces of my work, just so that you get an idea about why I'm participating. But these women are, for this year, uh, the participants, and they have a lot to share. And perhaps we'll start with, who wants to start? Who feels like they want to start? You all three look so wonderful. So big smiles. So who's starting? Or should...
I could start. It doesn't matter.
Okay, please
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Sari, for the invitation. It's very lovely that you invite us to participate tonight here in Germany tonight. It's daylight, I guess, for a couple of people who are watching now. And I feel very happy to join this talk with such amazing panel of artists. And well, I will just, as you said, you wanted to talk to show a couple of works from you, or should I just continue and talk about myself?
Well, you could show us some of your work as you're talking about yourself and its relevance to this year's conference, which is about joy and pain.
Sure. Okay.
So do you want to share? I think you have the right to share. So you just take the green arrow, press, and go forward.
Sure. Great. I did, in order to be a bit organized, because I know myself, I can start talking and then it will never stop. I did a tiny presentation, so I hope I can share it right now in order to be precise on time and give space for everybody to have their own moment of share their work. So I will share this PDF. It's very simple. You have it, right? Okay, so basically, well, I will start with myself. I'm an artist. I was born in Venezuela. I'm an interdisciplinary artist, which means that I work with different media, different medias that are combined with one root, that it's performative arts. So I work in between photography, video, installations, a lot with nature. And I've been working as an artist formally since 2014 when I left my country. I came to Europe to participate in an exhibition in Spain, in Madrid, in Casa de America. And I was coming just to visit the exhibition. And then eventually things changed a bit for myself. So I decided to stay. And because I have everybody has some sort of privilege, or I guess I had, not everybody, but I had, and this was documentation. I had the papers from my father who gave me the nationality, so I could decide to stay, and then I did work and continue my life here as an artist. And for pain, I choose one of the works that are referencing this moment of my life when I decided to stay without a preparation of what migration it could be for my life. And I was struggling quite a while, quite a lot, I would say, because I just left my country without saying goodbye to my family, without saying, I was changing my life. Before I was a journalist, working a lot in documentary filmmaking and political documentation for the circumstances that were happening in my country. So I was also in many struggles, personal life. And I did a residency in Finland that it was very outcoming with me feeling emotional, mental, and physical pain. And this work was called, has no title. It's like a combination of poetry, photography, video, performance. And this is me, I put as stills because I thought it will be also easier and faster in order not to take more time from the other panelists. So the work has no title, but it's a reference. It's very simple action of me going from one point to the other point of the screen with a rope in the middle of a -20-degree winter conditions, who for me was totally new, coming from Caribbean tropical weather. And I'm just walking through the snow, grabbing a rope that breaks, and then I have to go back and forward many times in order to achieve a simple action that is just going from one point to the other. This is pain through arts and how it's possible, or at least I can see it through my first works, overcoming and using art as a way of expression of personal reality. But also what we have, it's also joy, which is the other main topic of our panel today, and how I was thinking very carefully on what to select, or what can from my work, what's like big in number as well. I decided to not talk about myself because I do enjoy a lot of collaboration that it's working not only for other people projects, but for myself when I invite other artists to participate, either as a instrumental musician who I am, developing pieces or working together with others. I do have the chance to live in a residency who has a gallery here in Germany, in Hamburg. And sometimes I do support and host other friends to participate in order to present their work. And this, for me, it's how through art, which it's not only the artwork itself, but it's also the context of why I am an artist, and the decision of becoming this is not only as an individual necessity of presenting only myself, but also supporting others. And when I can do it, and I did this work when Zari was visiting me in 21. I invited Gloria, a friend of mine, who presented a work that it was about her investigation regarding the necessity of grabbing and searching through museum, the archive of the African art that is in hands of museums of Europe, and try to develop this in order to have a narrative of actually presenting the necessity of open the archives and changing narratives in order either to return this artwork or to have another presentation itself. And we did it during 2021, in the year of the pandemic. It was beautiful. We engaged with Instituto Cervantes and Triennale de Fotografía, which is a very important exhibition, a festival here in Hamburg. And yeah, this is Gloria and this is me in the gallery, and it was very beautiful, and it was so much amazing moment. And the last thing I want to present is my current investigation. Since 2020, I've been searching, and this, I think it's a combination between these two topics, joy and pain. I have an urge, necessity of work, of finding a sort of a symbiosis. I call it in search of a new symbiosis, and it has different layers or different moments of us. The question is regarding us as humans. What are our perspective, or how do we present ourselves in this nowadays life, considering nature, or how do we describe or see nature as something that is outside of ourselves, or if we do present it and see it in a very more close, rational and emotional and also spiritual understanding that comes from I take a lot of investigation from different philosophers from Europe and try to find bridges with cosmovision of communities from the Amazon rainforest, mainly from Venezuela, of course, and how it is possible to find a way to be, talk, and appreciate and be part of nature. And this was presented in 2022 in the Eitohallen Falkenberg, in a museum here in Hamburg, but also in Johannesburg, in a performance conference, and working through the next step that will be presented this year in Basel in June. And it's another like the evolution. So yeah, I think I more or less try to be very concrete. Yeah, this is myself or my work or whatever it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Elena. We are going to get to some questions a little bit later, because we are all showing something. I'm going to take little time because I want you all to share more of your work. Last year, I participated in a collaboration. This year, it's different, but because we're all showing our different pieces, but perhaps we can do something that we can come together later. But that's just my fantasy. That's my idea. Who would like to go next? Cherine or Ruchika? Cherine?
Yeah. My name is Cherine Yazbeck. I'm based in Beirut. I'm Lebanese, and I'm a reporter and also I don't know if we can call it an artist, whatever. I do some artwork, let's say. So yeah, because I don't know what an artist means anymore. It's the mix. I'm quite like influenced by my work, and I guess in the Middle East now there's, I mean now, and it has always been like this. There are lots of things happening, and I could mainly, yeah, say that whatever I cannot like express or the frustration I feel while not being able to cover a story or something, this story I just like put a pause and I develop the story with different medium. So I'm gonna show you. So here we can share the desktop. No, that's it. Can you
Yes,
see it?
sure.
All right. So I'm gonna now let's see how this thing works. Let's see. Oops, no, I had put something like for the conference. So I don't know if you can see this, for instance. Can you see my screen? Is it
Yes,
big or is it too small or
you could
whatever?
make it larger because you've got
All right.
really powerful pieces.
Okay.
Not
And
covering your
now
entire screen. You could make it
Better.
bigger.
Yeah,
bigger?
you
You
could
can make
make it a
it bigger.
tad
Yeah, bring it to
larger.
the edge because we can see the background
All
uh,
right.
desktops.
So
Yeah, you
I
need
don't
the
know.
green
I
one.
think it's the green one.
It's a
Yeah.
green one. You
There
have to
you
take
go.
You are screen sharing. Okay. And
right.
you
But
are that's no?
no, Shireen, you see the red, yellow, and the green on the side. Take the green and double click.
Ah,
Yes.
okay. All right. I
Yeah.
learned something today. Okay, so it's just like this is from the book that I did. So what my last exhibition, what I want to talk about is more the two last projects I've been working on. So that was an exhibition called Beirut Blast and Other Stories. Beirut Blast, so it is the moment of the Beirut Blast that took place, I mean, that happened on August 4, 2020. Some ammonium nitrate were stored in a hangar at the Beirut port, and it was ignited for some reason, and it provoked a blast that destroyed some part of the city and killed as many as 230 people and really destroyed like livelihood around the port and a part of the port itself. So I did a lot of work for my I work for ABC Australia, and at the same time, I started filming and trying to also question what happened, because there is always something happening where I live, and you know, the news goes very fast. I'm always working in breaking news and documentary, just like, you know, what you said, Elena. And I think at some point we just need to, hey, what happened here? This is my livelihood. This is my city. And I just wanted to understand what was happening. So this was like taken from the exhibition. It was a 9-chapter exhibition. And that's like, it's a kind of between forensic photography and forensic architecture. So what I did here is I shot evidence on the ground. This is all taken from the port, and I tried to reenact or to reconstruct what happened at this precise place in the port. All these, what you can see, the cloth or whatever, this all belonged to people who have died by the silos. And in my, if you want, in the note, it is, of course, it's between fiction and reality. So I imagined like an investigator going there, and a forensic investigator going and like analyzing all these cloth or whatever he or she could find in situ, in order to analyze, you know, what happened to these people. So this is one thing, and also, so yeah. This is like mapping, so that's a drone shot where I found the evidence. Of course, this is between reality and fiction all the time. It's never really the true story. It is always something that I have invented, but being influenced by what happened. And so afterwards, one of the chapter of my work was what I called in French autour de la catastrophe. So what was surrounding the catastrophe, because this is like the big catastrophe that happened for us in Lebanon. So these are a little bit of snapshots of before and after the catastrophe. So this is like quite a dark, these are little instax like Polaroid, because I thought they would describe better what I wanted to say in this. So we have like what I call the planche. So these are cardboards, and it's written in French because I prefer to use the French language. So so these are like snapshots of every day, and I chose also to show you something that, I mean, a lot of people were a little bit shocked during the exhibition that took place. The opening was on December 15 till January 15, so it was like 1 month ago in Beirut. And so I reproduced the model of the silos. So these are the silos before they were destroyed. It's only afterwards that I understood. So if we want to talk about pain, it's only afterwards, after reproducing this with the help of a young architect, that I understood that when you reproduce a model of a house or whatever was destroyed, so you have a trauma. The fact that you are doing the model, it's almost like a healing process. So that was, I think, I didn't understand this at first, but I was watching a local TV, and there was a psychologist talking about this, because some of the children, they had their house destroyed, and one part of this overcoming the trauma was to have them, you know, like rebuild the house, because some people also didn't like, you know, realize how traumatic it was for children, for even for people who have lost their offices and so on. So the fact that I reproduced this, I think it was part of a healing process, but this I understood it only later on. So here you have like some bits of the destroyed model. It was also a way, because the way we put them in the exhibition is like you have the old silos and the new one. And the new one were like what they've become. It's like 1/3 of the volume of the big one. It was a huge. It's 1 meter 75 by 60, half a meter long. So I wanted also to show how always in Lebanon we have something that is so beautiful, so iconic, emblematic, like 160,000 tons of wheat in these silos. And we always reduce everything, like we have something beautiful and then it just like falls apart. I don't know if it's like in our DNA, but it's a pattern, I think, in this country. And that was also, this is the process, because I wanted to show also how we came, you know, to do this model. It was quite difficult. In fact, it was like quite an investigation to come to this model of the silo, because just little documentation was available. The company that had built the silos from 1967 till 1970 was in the Czech Republic, in the USSR back then, and it doesn't exist anymore. We have just like a few pictures. So I went on watching a lot of movies just to take some snapshot in order to be as precise as possible, as if I was like commissioning this young lady the work. So that's the silos. I don't know if I can show now, because I don't want to take a lot of your time. So I don't know, can I show a little bit of the new work?
Yes,
Yeah?
please,
Okay.
please.
Okay, so that's the video. You can see it now full screen. So that's the, okay, we're done if you want with the silos. The silos also, just to tell you one last thing about it, is that during this the course of this month, a lot of people came to visit the exhibition. It was quite academic, quite institutional, and if you want, I can share also the book later on this panel. And a lot of people came just to tell me they lost a brother during the civil war. They lost a sister. One woman came and told me that she lost her mother during the explosion. So it was a mix of, you know, losing people, and it was as if this the exhibition became almost as a place where people could talk, and they found like a safe place where they can freely talk about all the past traumas. So it felt very, very strange, as if like, you know, we were turning this place into a kind of memorial. So I thought it was very important to have this. I don't know if where joy stands here, but in Lebanon, when something like this dramatic happens, I always have a tendency to say that nothing worse can happen. So only, you know, something positive afterwards can happen. I know it's very optimistic, but I think we always reach such a new low that maybe, you know, it cannot get worse. But this was before what was happening in Gaza. So now I don't know what to say anymore. And so when the war in Gaza started, so we were all watching, of course, you know, the Instagram and everything. So we had this war where nobody could go. So the terrain was not accessible, and the only way to access any news on the ground was to ask the Instagrammers there, you know, for the shots. So I decided in my new work, now I'm working more on what's happening in Gaza, a little bit the same the same way of working like for the Beirut port, with several chapters as well. And this is like the first part, because I take a lot of time to work on the different parts of what I'm doing. So the first one is it's a 5-minute audio work on the sounds of Gaza. So all these sounds that you hear, you will hear now, but I'm gonna just take one part. It is what you can hear in Gaza. So I asked someone in Gaza to take the sounds, the original sounds, and that was one night in Gaza, October 17, when the IDF, so the Israeli soldiers, they cut off the light, the Wi-Fi, and everything, so just that they can perpetrate the massacre in the dark, and we can hear in the night. I mean, I'm just gonna let you listen, like, for a minute before. So that work is basically a sound work. I don't know. Now I'm gonna say stop sharing. Maybe no. I don't know how we do it.
You go to the top, and it says
Yeah.
stop sharing. You see where you have the view options at the very
Stop
top?
share. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So in short, because I'm gonna let us see Ruchika talk to in short, now if I'm gonna do something about the joy, maybe I was listening to, I hear a lot of panels, also political panels. As you can see, all my work is very political, it's very activist and so on. And he was saying at least what is happening in Gaza shed the light on a Palestinian state. So if there is some kind of joy that will emerge from this big, huge catastrophe. As you know, now there is famine hitting Gaza. I mean, just today I received a lot of vision from Gaza where people are eating animal feed. So this is where they're at, and not being able to drink water and so on. But if there is something positive or joyful about what's happening, I don't know if it's the right word, is at least that maybe the outcome could be something positive. I mean, in this part of the world, this is what we have to cling on, because we don't have much, hope otherwise. So that's for now, Ruchika.
So I'll just talk a bit before I start the screen sharing. So hello everyone. Thank you for being here, and I'm happy to talk about my work and a bit about myself. I'm an artist, an art educator, and an independent researcher based in Delhi, India. And my interest lies in looking at art through the prism of motherhood. It's not something which I think I wanted to make political as such, but I think it's something which I've flown through and it has shaped the narratives in my life. So I'll now start with the screen sharing, and we go to the presentation, downloads. Okay. All right. Sorry. Can you see the screen?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. Is there something? There's something on the screen. I can't do with this bar. Is that okay?
It's okay. It's
All
fine.
right. Okay. So I'm just getting a bit nervous. I think, yeah. So my interest is in looking at the maternal self within the practices of life and art. So I'm going to talk about my journey uh, of becoming a mother and how that has gone parallel to my practice as an artist, and how it has shaped my work and also the choices I have made in my life. So my work has always been non-figurative, and I've always been interested in human life and human experiences, lived experiences. But ever since I became a mother, rather I started to expect my child. Something very spontaneous happened in my works, and I felt that my works took a turn towards things which were more amoebic, which were suggestive of the botanical and the amoebic world, to do with regeneration, procreation, and that became my prism to look at the world within myself and outside. So this is a body of work called Transit Spaces, where my work is very intuitive in nature. It's very sort of spontaneous. And it often happens with me that when I start to work, the process is very, very, very spontaneous, and I have to reflect back at really trying to look and understand what is it that I'm doing. When I'm creating, I'm aware that there is something which is guiding me, but to really have kind of a reflection is a process where I'm able to understand my own self deeper. So this is a project called Transit Spaces, where I was really working with my embodied experience of pregnancy and expecting my daughter. So this whole presentation is really starting from 2002, I would say. That's when my daughter was born, and until 2024. So as my daughter grew, um, my daughter's name is Meher, as the color palette of my works changed. And as you can see that, forms from the girl child's world came into my works. I would not go into explaining my work. I think it's more about feeling, and it's something very personal, how each one of you connect with the work. So why am I showing these works in this presentation is that motherhood is one journey which, of course, it became my way of looking at life and art. It brought both situations of joy and pain. So you are celebrating life, and at the same time, there is pain in different ways. So there is pain in terms of course, it's it's a physical pain of uh, giving birth, but beyond that, there are many challenges, and the challenges are in life and also continuing with your art practice. So these two shifting, oscillating situations uh, continued in my work, and it also brought in me an anxiety towards the security of my child. And I started to bring in the forms such as the child, which was never there in my work. So I think if ever my work has had a human body, it has always been only in the form of a child. So my interest became in looking at the anxieties around the socio-political situations and the insecurities. And the site was, of course, it was the domestic spaces. And that is where the child's body also became a protagonist. This is a work which I did in Sri Lanka during a residency program in 2007 at Tirtha International Artists Collective. In 2016, I started with a residency program after I was really over with the very overwhelming part of motherhood. I still get overwhelmed, but in a different way, of course. But I think the initial phase of raising the child as someone who needs constant support, I went on to starting this residency program called Amma, the Archive for Mapping Mother Artists in Asia. So my interest was in addressing the issues about being a mother and continuing with your art practice. And I think that from 2002 to 16, really all the questions and the hiccups I had in my own art practice, I felt that those things needed to be addressed. And I started with the Amma as an online project in the form of a website first. And then I felt that no, there were some questions which need to be addressed. For example, the residency program. Why can't we have customized programs and avenues which could address the needs of someone who needs to be more flexible, who needs flexibility? And that is how I started with the residency, which is a 2-week residency. Really, these were my own challenges when I was wanting to branch out, but I could not leave my home for long durations. And then, of course, there were workshops, so I'll share those with you. This was also one kind of a residency program. So it was a family residency with Yuki Sai from Okinawa, Japan. I also wanted to make an inclusive space for young mothers who could bring in their child along with them for the workshop, for an art event. And it then kind of became a space which was very welcoming. It was okay to have the kids with you. And I think post-pandemic, I would say the blessing is that we are sort of validating this online space as a space to branch out and connect people much more than before. That's how I started with this program called Common Ground. I started with having Bakula from US and Remy from UK. And before I could realize, really, through different events, I started to build threads of, I would say, threads of network, So these are these short threads of networks which are sort of just spreading out. And I'm quite happy about that. Sorry, I jumped a slide. So this project, Amma is going on. And meanwhile, in November, I was invited to be a part of India Week Hamburg. And I thought it was a great opportunity to expand Common Ground. Though Amma is focused on working with artists from Asia and those of the Asian diaspora, because though much of research is being done in UK, US, and other countries and continents, we didn't have any such thing in Asia. And that's why Amma was focused on Asian artists. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to really look at and have the opportunity to talk to and interact in different ways with artists in Germany. And so I proposed that I would like to take the spirit of the project to working and collaborating with artists in Germany. And as an artist in residence at Friese Künstler Haus for India Week Hamburg, I collaborated with the 15 artists and also with Saskia Weiler. And I'm so honored to have had the opportunity to to have support from Saskia for the project. And the project was, of course, branching out in different ways. So we had this Zoom conversation with Marcia Boyer, Renate Labelle, who also have independent projects, and to see how are they negotiating these challenges of motherhood and our practice, what are their ways of looking at problem solving. So for example, when I was there, Marcia really broke this barrier of finding funding from the government in Hamburg to start a new family residency program, which is great. And so one of the ways of networking is that you are able to find connections and branch out to have more networks and brainstorming. The project also had 11 artists from different parts of Germany who responded to questionnaires. And then we had a workshop at Friese Künstlerhaus with artists and mothers, and where children were involved with the work. And as you can see, so there's another workshop which we had at Dashtohan, which was by invitation from Professor Dr. Dirk Luca, the director of Dashtohan. And that's Zari and Elena Marcusen. And finally, the project was presented at the gallery of Friese Künstlerhaus. So this project brought together artists from Stuttgart, Berlin, Hamburg, Dresden, and Freiburg. And I think this was just an eye-opener. We can never completely complete the research. We can never completely have all the answers to all the questions, but definitely, I think every door which opens, it only makes the possibilities wider. So I think Amma is kind of opening the doors for many more people to look into this zone of what we can call feminism, and what are the domains of feminism, and what are the aspects of feminism, really. Feminist discourse, is it looking at the maternal body only through sexuality, or also the maternal body which procreates? What are its challenges? What are its needs? So my question also is, who defines what are the demarcations of, or the possibilities of feminism? I think that's a very important question, because it's very, very personal. And who are the stakeholders here? I would like to open this question. It's really something we need to answer. And following the support I got for the project in Germany, which includes support from Fair Share, from Intact, these collectives who connected with my project, I thought of starting the same set of questions with artists in India. And this project is now currently ongoing, seeking a common ground, looking at the other mother, documenting and archiving the experiences of artists' mothers in India. And in the future, I intend to take the same set of questions which I had for artists in Germany and in India right now to other countries. So that's my journey. I don't think that I want to always make art which reflects my embodied experience of motherhood, but definitely it percolates in the way I look at life. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we will all talk about other people's work. I'm very quickly going to just show you 10 pieces of my work that I've done in the last few years. So let me go to the beginning. Some of this work has a lot to do with my experience of having also been a mother and an artist and having a South Asian background. I was born in the US, so I'm what they call a bridge person. That's what the nuns used to tell me when I was a child. I always take other people's identity, voltages and toss them up. This is a piece I did in Beirut on the, in December, the 20th of December. It was about a conversation I was having with somebody about them doing artwork. I gave a drawing class to people. This work is about A3, most of it, and it's a mixed media. Before I've done also performance pieces with my work, but that didn't happen there. I'm going to go quickly because I don't think we have so much time and we want to get the questions from other people. This is a recent piece. The children of the Gaza are becoming very important more and more in my artwork, and also some of the young kids that I teach who are silently being deported here make me always remember the children there. And I think about the feeling about holding my own daughter and, learning from her and teaching with her and drawing with her. And I wonder, like Cherine said, people are starved. They are not able to eat. And so that deprivation still brings out these colors as I touch that experience. So when somebody tells me a story like that, it can end up in my work. I was listening to some Instagram conversations. I call them testimonies, and, where you have live accounts. And this is how I worked with that. This is another piece that I did. It had to do with a conversation that I was trying to deal with. A lot of work can be personal, but I think the personal for me always ends up political, and it becomes a weaving of different situations. So I try to just show work that does come together. This piece actually did get sold. It was I was sitting at the port, and this is what came out of it. I had been at a place called the Grotto, and so I guess it's a mixture of those experiences. I'm not going to talk so much about what I did because I want to hear what the other people will have to say. But I just want to share with you one of the reasons why I'm committed to working with Rosemary and this group, because I feel that all of us have voices. Everybody said really, really powerful stories. I would have loved to have spent 3 or 4 hours listening to everybody and just our panel. The voices that came from, the Gaza that you had, Cherine, I would love to just spend time hearing them, feeling them, having them go through me, because that is how it touches me in a way that I take it to another level to deal with it. I just don't intellectualize it. It's something that I digest. This has to do with almost dying and being kept alive. So, as I said, a lot of things are very personal in my work. And for me, the personal and the political comes together. And what's going on in the world, the situation, the crisis in the Middle East, my childhood of having people having issues with Jewish and Muslim backgrounds in a country that was mostly Hindu, and then going to a very Christian country, the US, and what Christianity, all of these things always get redefined and they end up in my work. The last piece, and this is from, sometimes you look at the news and we get distracted, or I get distracted. So I'm going to stop sharing this work so that we can, I'm sorry I hurried through me, but I wanted to really give the other ladies a chance to share more of their stories because they all told me such powerful stories. And I found this collaboration, the way it came together today, really touching. So there's much more that I can learn from it. I think we have to turn it over to the people who will ask questions or who would like to start asking questions. Rosemary, are we going to turn it over to other people now?
Yes. Uh, please put your questions in the Q&A for Zari and the artist. We welcome them now and we'll read them. We don't have any yet, Zari.
Okay, but maybe some of you
As
could
it
ask.
comes along, yes, it will pop up.
Okay,
Ah,
Ruchika?
Ruchika. And don't raise your hand, just speak if you're on the panel. Feel free.
Yeah. So I think one thing I found very interesting was that among all of us who presented are how the sites of experiencing joy and pain are very different. Like in Cherine's case, she's doing reportage, literally, I would say. And she's out there in that kind of a space. And as opposed to Elena or myself. So I think the shift in the site really kind of is also impacting the or maybe I should not just answer, I should ask. I'm sort of just answering it myself. How the shift in the site enhances or reduces the emotive quality of the joy and the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Cherine, would you like to answer that? I mean,
Yeah,
Cherine, get my question?
I'm gonna answer. I mean, my answer I think is gonna be very maybe weird. Is that yeah, the place where I live, I mean, the place where you live, it's maybe it creates or it triggers a very different way of doing art. Where I live is always, it has to do because what I do is also something that I live. It's like my house was shattered. It's also, I mean, I'm doing an artwork also about the catastrophe that is hitting me as well now, as you can see what's happening in Gaza is also, I mean, also has the repercussions on Lebanon. So I don't know when the day will come when, we will be also bombed and we will have drones over our head and we will have like panic attacks, whatever. When it comes to joy and pain, it's, as I told you, it's going to be weird, maybe my answer, but with each catastrophe, I feel in a way relieved because I always think that this is the last one, or we cannot reach something more dramatic. So what will come afterwards can only be positive. Unfortunately, I'm always disappointed as I live in Lebanon, but this is how I try to, this is why I do like a pause, like when you film and you pause. And I just want to understand, what's happening before moving forward. So it's a very weird, maybe a very complex relation to joy and pain. Like, as when you really love someone and you're like, your parents, and once they die, in a way it's not that you're happy, but because nothing worse can happen now. The worst that you was fearing has happened. So then everything that will happen afterwards can only be positive. I don't know if you get me, but in this part of the world, this is how we are. I mean, we take nothing for granted. not even the water, not even, you know, I mean, some of my friends when I travel are surprised because like I take a 2-minute shower, not even or whatever, is because we never know when it's gonna stop. We have it now, but tomorrow it can be just finished. So yeah.
What you said, Cherine, is also very interesting. I noticed I used a lot of dry techniques when I was in Lebanon because I, was holding water. I was carrying water with me because I didn't know if I'd have enough to, finish pieces. And it offered me something of being more economical about using water, something I never was thinking about, not even in India, not even in the US or Germany. So I had to rethink my relationship to water and be grateful for it. And to the people in front of me, they might not be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I think for me, this topic that it's very abstract, but very as well, every individual, every human will understand joy and pain in any moment, or at least in one moment in their life. I believe so. Because this is a connection, this emotionality. It will let us into either very personal subjects, like the one that Ruchika presented, that it's about motherhood, and this is a very one-to-one connectivity, but also to society as well, as Cherine presented. No, so I think this is also very much important aspect about how it doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter necessarily. I don't want to put a weight on or a value on which is more, who has more suffer or more joy, which, because it should not, it's too hard. Nevertheless, we all can have process and empathy of these feelings. And as an artist who decide to work with this topic, there is a political aspect on it, or an activist, depending on also different interests. Of course, we as humans, as artists, are affected as well, and create through emotions. So I think there is this point of or this circle, this line that connect all of the works that we are presented here today.
I think, Elena, that go on, Cherine.
Yeah, no, just something, because talking also about when you were talking about, well, you come from Venezuela, it reminded me also, I was in Casa de Medellín, Casa de la Memoria in Medellín, and it was, of course, something very, very powerful. I mean, this place of memory, because this is also a lot of my work about the memory. And I spent like maybe 3-4 hours talking to a history professor from Venezuela. And we were talking about, when we were talking about the pain, I mean, Venezuela used to be a thriving country. I mean, nobody, I think, in the 70s, let's say, or the 80s would have thought that Venezuela would reach such a, would be down the drain. I mean, it's a free fall. And I don't know why we bonded, we connected, as if we were talking about the same story, having coming from two very, wealthy country in all forms, cultural, everything. I mean, of course, Venezuela has lots of more resources than we do, but being, drawn down just because, I mean, in your case, we know who is behind what's happening in Venezuela. In our case, we also know what's behind, what's the story behind all that. I think it was like really, I mean, a big connection because, when now you have like this, these countries that we are creating, you have the pros and the cons to everything, the pro Ukraine, the anti-Ukraine, the pro I don't know what. And I think people now really relate. We are on a different level of understanding. With this Gaza war, it exposed everything. And I think that like this guy I met in Venezuela, we are bonding on other levels, that the people who know what it was to have something and to lose it, and the people who are picking this out of them. I think this is now how I end up as seeing this.
I understand what you mean, and I will bring something that I think it's super important on this, specifically what you're talking about in Colombia. There is a necessity of review, but also to overcome for the future, because eventually, if you need, I mean, I would talk about Venezuela because it's even more fair, history-wise. I'm not coming from Colombia, even though my mom was born there. Eventually, when there's so much conflict, and it becomes up to a point that there is not possible progress without working together. Somehow, there's got to be a bridge, a necessity of sitting down who you don't encounter any possible dialogue and try to find a way to work together. And this is totally necessary because it's the only way. And this, I take it into a bigger scale. We're talking about, okay, I'm talking about Venezuela, you're talking about your reality and your investigation. But at the same time, we are all living in one planet. We're all living in a very complex, interconnected, but also very complicated future, facing that it's actually happening now through climate change. And if we don't find a way to have hope and work on a different levels and layers, then this will be a catastrophe future-wise. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter what's your ideology, how wealthy you are. It's gonna be the end for everybody. So this is important, at least for what I can see is having hope, but also as an example, maybe a bit not tight and far, this necessity of dialogue. It's for me something that sometimes it seems impossible, but necessary.
I think if you look at the piece of the almost the amoeba forms, just what you just said, Elena, that Ruchika has, it's as if we're having, as a mother, we're rebirthing ourselves by giving birth to other people or other ideologies or other ideas. That is the ability to never die. You know, on one level, we talk about an end, becoming amoebas again. On the other hand, when you think about the works of Octavia Butler, we have this, we are always going to be. So it's a dichotomy, those two. And that was very good in the Amma, and Amma means mother. You know, that the whole idea of this mother idea can also be something that people do not have to be born with vaginas to have that, you know, that mother quality has to be something that everybody has to find in themselves, and have the feminism that is for everybody, not just for people who are born with certain types of bodies.
So, you know, I just like to add here what Elena is saying about dialogues. So I'd like to expand that and take it a bit further to add the word collaboration, you know. I think that, I mean, we all can do it in our own ways and through our own projects, because our projects are really like our ways of looking at the realities around us. So I would say, you know, for me, through Amma, it's not something I'd expected, because when I started with the project, I only wanted it to be a very short span project. I never envisioned it to come to Germany. But this whole idea of what Zari said, you know, caring and also building solidarity. So I think it's dialogue, it's collaboration, it's this whole idea of having a connectivity. It is probably the middle path from where we can have sail through between joy and pain, because both joy and pain, it's the rule of nature, you know, one goes with the other. It's never just one, and not any of them is everlasting, because they're always in a state of flux, you know, both keep coming and going. But what will probably stay is the connect we build with other people, because that is going to provide us with the stability to sail through either of them.
Cherine, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. I was just talking about your project, Ruchika. This, I mean, for me, when I was like listening to what you were saying, I thought at last someone is doing something for the mother. A lot of my friends tell me, but I mean, this work that you presented, wow, it's a lot of work. I said, yeah, because I refrained from doing anything during the first 15 years when I was bringing my two beautiful boys, because I couldn't. I mean, you have your emergencies, your priorities, and what you do the first 15 years. This is why when someone is pregnant, I said first 15 years are very difficult, then it's okay. And nobody ever thinks that, you know, a woman has to deal with her motherhood, with the childhood, with the lessons, with that. How much time is left? I mean, it's a luxury. It's a luxury. I mean, I refused a lot of work, a lot of stuff, because it's a luxury to leave home more than, let's say, a week, because, you know, when there are little ones, you cannot even think about 1 week. So I'm really grateful that someone somewhere thought that this is happening. As much as I was having a discussion with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about how we don't talk about many other things like menopause, like many other things that we as women go through and that affect also our art and affect everything that we're doing in life, but we never talk about it, as if it never existed, as if women just go by with their life, you know, like butterflies, and you know, la vie en rose, but it's not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, you know. Well, I think for me, Amma really shifted the gaze on the body, because when you say a female body, you're looking at the physical body, but when you're saying the maternal body, you are looking at the body not through sexuality, but the organs, which I mean, I've said it in earlier presentations as well, but I think that the organs of the female body, which are within the feminist perspective, normatively looked at to suggest sexuality, are the organs which are also performing the role of nurturing the newborn child, or letting the child come into the world. So I think that the project shifted my gaze towards looking at the body in that sense, because I always looked at feminism through sexuality. And I think that's also our conditioning, because whether it is advertisements, whether it is television, we are looking at the body as a site for gaze, but what kind of a gaze it is, that's important. And in context of sharing the kind of work that you're doing, you know, going to the ground and working, I just wanted to share this with you. You know, there's a project which I always wanted to do, but I've never had the courage to do. And that is working in Delhi. We had riots in 1984. So it's been called the pogrom and not the riot, really. If you see the book by Paul Brass, he has a chapter in his book. The book is called Riots and Pogroms, and he's beautifully talked about how this this event, which has been called locally as 1984 riots, which is literally the Sikh genocide, is not a riot, it's pogrom. And after the pogrom happened, there is a colony in Delhi where all the women, and a lot of course, a lot of other people from the men as well, but a lot of women from the family who lost their sons and their husbands were put in this place to, you know, as for shelter. And now they live there, and children, the boys and the girls who lost their father, because a lot of men were killed. So they, of course, now grown up. I always wanted to do this. Maybe we could ever do this collaboration. I don't know. But considering the nature of your work, it just reminded me. Because I'm from the same Sikh community, and I've experienced that. Yeah, of course, I was in a school, but I still experienced that. I don't have the courage to go to the colony and speak to the women and interview them or talk to them, because I know what the pain would be like. And they've, of course, some of them must have lost their children as well. But that's something I always wanted to do, but I've never had the courage to do that. Yeah, but I just wanted to share about that.
Ruchika, that is a really important topic, because many communities in India, in Kerala, there are 3 Jewish communities that have gone through pogroms, you know. Other communities, not to say that what your community went through, but I'm saying that India is full, so from my experience, so full of people who live with joy and pain. And I think that gave me the power. You're talking about the courage. You have that courage because you just spoke about it. When I came to Berlin as a young mother, I had a lot of women to help me to raise my daughter so I could be an artist and do my artwork. I couldn't have done that in India. There is nobody in my family, even my liberal father and my liberal family wouldn't have let that happen. It would have been too much. So as much as I have my anger towards Germany, and I've talked to Cherine about it, and to Elena and you as well, I also have my joy about being here. And I think that we all do. And if we want to do projects, I think we can do them together. One of the biggest projects is this empowerment. This is great empowerment. I mean, Cherine, you're showing the fabric. You know, I'm sitting here drawing right now the fabric that you showed from the silos of the people who lost their, you know, their lives. And somehow the fabric came into a drawing I'm sitting here doing to deal with, to feel it.
But I think also just to jump in, you know, Ruchika, and we're talking about the fabric and the memory, because what
Yes.
do the fabric represent? These are the people who have disappeared. And I really, I mean, relate to what you're saying, Ruchika, especially now what is happening in your part of the world. And we know exactly what happened with the destruction of the mosque and building a Hindu temple on the top of the mosque. So what you're saying is like it happened like last month. It's not, and I think just to point on this, on one specific event that I wouldn't personally call pogrom, because pogrom is, you know, I mean, as you know, historically is really used to, you know, the based in, I mean, in Ukraine, what happened to the Jewish community. So sometimes this pogrom word is always a little bit used and misused. I would just choose the massacre or a genocide or whatever. And in the case of India, I mean, it makes more than sense, especially now with what is happening and what happened like a month ago with the inauguration. And maybe what will happen next, I don't know, because they have some plans to destroy Al-Aqsa, to search for the Temple of Solomon. So you know, everything now is like really, it resonates, I think, worldwide. And just to shed light on one story is also to shed light on all the stories. And what is happening today to the Sikh community, nobody seems to care about it, but this is very dangerous. I think what is happening in India now is very, very concerning, even though all other, Trump takes like 80% of the news, Ukraine takes 10, and Gaza the rest, and that's it. I mean, we don't, and then all these things that are happening, like the temple that has been inaugurated, just like it's noise, it just. So I think, yeah, doing something on this massacre, it makes more than sense. It's also a tribute to the victims, and that means also the survivors that are not on their own. Someone is telling their story. I think this is very, very important. It's not just Slumdog Millionaire India. I mean,
Yes, of
it's a
course.
continent. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yes,
And
I
you're
agree.
telling your story, Ruchika, in your work. You are devoted to telling that story and letting it unfurl.
Well, I think now it's the participants, the people who join the project in different ways. They are the ones who are sharing their stories, and they are the ones who are making the project, So every time something evolves, I'm happy. That's all I can say.
So, Elena, what more would you like to share about? You said your work wasn't so personal in dealing with joy and pain. I found it quite personal as well.
What do
The
you...
pieces you did about the jungle, the pieces where you dealt with the spirituality as well as planting it to different places, but it's in all of us. That nature is in all of us, and that piece because I've seen where you are a part of that piece, it's a shame that everybody cannot see that, but that's really, really important. Could you imagine the merge of the work that that everybody has done? And of course, Cherine, what you talked about, the memories, that's why the cloth always has memories, especially when people have died. When the temple was when we had the problem with the temple and the mosque, you saw lots of fabric of dead people all over South India, all over Kerala, and it happened in the north. So I think we do react to each other's memories. And I think your work, the silo pieces, it spoke to me quite a bit. And it also flows into the work you're doing with the Gaza.
Well, yeah, I guess that's why we're all like, in a way, I mean, interconnected, because I could feel that between Venezuela, India, Lebanon, we have also maybe this connection of more pain, I would say, than joy, but then maybe, like a lot of stories that needs to be, brought to light and to be meditized in a way. I mean, exposed at least in a way or another. Yeah. And I had just one question for you, Elena. When you work, do you have sometimes in the back of your mind Venezuela, or you just want to, shun away from your mother, your homeland? That's just a personal question.
No. I am, yeah. I would say I work a lot at the beginning of my career with the mind of my country and my reality. I even had a work that it was about the time where there was no food or anything available in the country. And at the moment, even though that I am not working, pointing very much like before the direct political work, it is present through nature. I did a work that it was called Mercurio, which means Mercury, and it's about an investigation I did directly in the rain Amazon forest with different communities, Pemones and Baniva. And I was actually talking to the people, to these communities. The main problem that it's facing them, it's how the rivers are contaminated because the extraction of the illegal mining, it's so vast and huge that it's making all the fish contaminated. Therefore, the people are getting sick. Children are getting sick, and the people, the males, are going to work in the mine because they find themselves better pay through gold, which is actually this dividing families and making a very complicated to continue the cultural heritage pass through the new generations. When I work, I present these topics, not perhaps as direct as you do, Cherine. It's in the text, it's in the concept, it's said, but it's also very subtle. And this, I continue to work with this in my mind, in my heart, but also understanding that somehow, after so many years living abroad, I see that the struggles, at least in a very abstract way, it's regarding nature or regarding the planet, for sure it's more global. And I'm not saying globalized, even though that what happens in one part of the world is affecting directly the other. No, that's very much evident. So I try with very much hope and sometimes pessimistic rationality, not to give up and trying to find a possible way of interconnecting these two far away, distant realities. Trying very hard not to put a completely pointed out position, because I know that this, or at least this is my perspective, this eventually might come into the possibility of visibility, but not necessarily widespread. So to avoid the repetition to the same people who are actually more keen into hearing my perspective because they're close to me, I prefer to present something that is a bit more open and try to plant, let's say, a sort of a doubt, of a seed, and also for my own personal necessity of finding bridges, because what I call bridges, that could be connections, spiritual or not, from these two parts of the world, in order to try to see some sort of a light for a very dystopian future that I'm facing at the moment in my own way of understanding in the world.
But I
Well,
think, Elena, it sort of also makes your work be valid for the application of, its aesthetics and its socio-political concerns to any other part of the world as well.
what I would like to do is to take us to Germany, because that's where we all came together to talk about it, and that's why we were brought together by the BGHRA. Germany has a very pivotal point in our connectivity in this. Let's have a few statements about that. I'd like other people to say something. Cherine, I'd like you, because you also speak German, to say
What would
something.
you like to know?
I'd like you to talk about how you see Germany in this position. We were talking about a piece about colonialism, and I could see you doing that in Berlin. I hope I'm not talking too much. but I could
No,
see.
no, it's fine. I mean, I'm completely transparent about that because I think it's, it's out there. I mean, as we say, the cat is out of the bag. I mean, I'm not like revealing some kind of a secret. No, it's, yeah, we were talking because yesterday about the colonial Berlin, and I was saying just like in the wake of what's happening now in Gaza, I just like submitted something for the Colonial Berlin on the new Tanzanian prosecution. They are prosecuting now or considering a prosecution against the German state for
Mhm,
the killing of 300,000 Tanzanian
mhm.
when Germany was occupying, because they were occupying, because it is not they were managing, they were occupying the land, and they committed the genocide there. And so we were talking about how Germany might be prosecuted one day and find itself at the place of Israel, and how maybe all these what is happening now with the ICG, maybe it's gonna open the door for other prosecutions where also Germany will have to deal with its past, not so glorious at many times. So let's see how these things go. And that was, I mean, the subject of my submission at
Right.
the Colonial Berlin, of course, which will never be selected because.
But I'm not so sure about that. Let's not say that, really. I hope I'm not being too pushy, but I could see this as being very important because look, I remember working for the Senat in Berlin, and we were doing these brochures about colonialism and in Germany. And I didn't know before I did that and looked at those pictures at the Bundesarchives how many people were murdered in Cameroons, not just in Belgium. I thought the Belgian situation in the Congo had happened. Germany has had colonies, Namibia. Germany has had protectorates like Malawi. Also in northeastern India, some of this Bremer tea, this tea that the Germans call our tea. Where does tea grow in Germany? I don't think so. So I can see your piece taking on a really big possibility. And I would really love to see it happen here. I think your voice and your objectivity would be very important for it.
Objectivity, I'm not objective, I'm very radical.
But that is objective for me.
I'm everything but objective.
But you are wearing your heart on your sleeve. And for me, this has a lot to do with being able to see with your heart and your soul and your mind, and not just your mind or your brain. Do you understand what I mean? I think we all have to, to see that we have an active role in Germany, right, Rosemary?
Absolutely. Now I have
Oh,
to. We've got to close, but I have one.
we have a quick question. There's a question.
Yes, one last question. And maybe each of you can answer quickly because we have the next session coming. An anonymous attendee asked, she would love to hear about how each of the artists think about their work in terms of resistance. What are they resisting, if anything, and how? And is it always something an artist must do? That is, must an artist always be resisting? So maybe
I can say what I'm resisting.
Okay, stop.
So I'm resisting the normative ways of performing my roles in my life. It has taken me, this year I turned 50, and it has taken me almost 50 years to realize that I need to claim how do I frame it? I need to claim what I should claim. I think I have struggled to really come to this point to even accept that I have the right to claim, because I grew up conditioned by this way of how I was groomed to be. You're groomed to be this way. You're groomed to judge yourself this way. You're groomed to not just to perform, but also how to look at your own self. I think there has been a lot of resistance now from my end. Firstly, within myself, to unlearn my grooming, and then to resist from the outside when those patterns of grooming are brought forward in front of me. I'm resisting that, and I think I think I'm doing fine for now, and I'm
Great.
happier.
Great. Elena, do you want to answer?
As I mentioned, I can be a bit pessimist with a stubborn necessity of seeing forward. Or so I said, if I have to resist or what I've been resisting through art, it must be not to fall, and through art to continue to find ways, doors to not to fall in different subjects that I've been working through. And because the life of the artist is not necessarily flowers, fame, champagne. It's about going and being stubborn and continue working and being dedicated, but especially to have a passion and to go for it. So yes, this is I would say that like this, yes. To continue working as an artist, not to fall.
Well, as we close, we have a final comment from an attendee that I think is very apropos. Uh-oh, it was clicked away.
It's okay.
Let's see, I'll find it. Okay, it says powerful presentation. I'm in tears and feeling very inspired. Thank you all for sharing so deeply. And Kasturi says, often I get negative feedback for wearing my heart on my sleeve as a youngish person in academic life. I never listened to them. Love this. Thank you so much. And I thank you all so much for joining us today. And I'm sure we could go on, but we do have the next session, so we'll have to have you back again. Okay?
That'd be lovely.
Thank you.
So
Thank
much.
you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. It's beautiful to share this moment with you girls.